Well, hello, hello, hello. I'm Dee Stevens, and I'm so excited. This is starting our new series of looking at books. And I got to tell you, self help books have been my saving grace. I have loved self help books all my life. Self help books have shaped the way I have thought. I first discovered self help books back in, I think it was 91. Anyway, my first therapist introduced me to self help books and relationship books, and I just fell for them. I started reading every single one I could get my hands on, and I read some more than once, and it just changed my life. I went from being a person who loved fiction more than anything to loving self-help books. So if you have a favorite self-help book, then go ahead and put it in the comments. What is your favorite self-help book? And I'd love to hear about it. Anyway, today we are starting with one of my favorite self-help books. It is called Mastery of Love. Mastery of Love. It's my favorite one of all times. And I got to tell you, it's gotten me through so many times in my life when things were not going well in my relationships. And I ended up getting the audio one, and it was CD, and I played it in my car all the time. And I just used that self-help book like crazy. Anytime I had my heart crushed and I had a broken heart, which was quite often, I would just play this CD and it would change my whole feeling at that time, and I loved it. And in fact, I loved it so much that I got cards for it. Like, these were lovely cards that had quotes on them, and I would pull these cards out at times when I wondered about my relationship, and they would bring me back to who I was and what I believed. And so let's get started about this. Yeah, what is your favorite self-help book? Just let me know in the comments. Is there one that you have loved more than anything else? All right, let's move to, I'm going to go fancy today. So we're talking about Don Miguel Ruiz, I believe, and he's a spiritual teacher. He was born in Mexico. He did move to Los Angeles, and he is best known for the Four Agreements. Remember the Four Agreements? I'm trying to remember them completely. Like, be impeccable with your word. Don't take anything personally. Don't make assumptions, and always do your best. Now, I discovered that just because I think of Oprah, and once I read that, I thought I wanted to know a lot more about Miguel Ruiz. When he came out with Mastery of Love, that was the one book that I decided I loved it and I needed to have it. He shaped my life in many ways. All right, The Mastery of Love. It is nonfiction, although it has a lot of fictional stories in it. So I don't know how you can say it's completely nonfiction. But he uses a lot of stories to shape what his beliefs are in love, and I'll be explaining some of them. It was published back in 1999, and it's full of stories to exemplify his advice. We're going to be talking about my favorite quotes and my favorite insights that I got from him, because that's what shaped me and shaped my thoughts, and it's how I got the book that I got. All right, let's talk about his next part. In this book, he talks about there are two tracks. There's the track of fear, and then there's the track of love. And he says 80% of the things, the actions we do in relationship come from the track of fear. And I was so surprised to hear that. And when I read more about it, I realized, yeah, a lot of my things that I was dealing with at the time came from fear in relationships, fear of getting hurt, fear of hurting others. And so he says that the track of fear has 4 parts to it. He's talking about there are obligations in the track of fear. There are so many expectations of the other person, of yourself. Just it's full of expectations. And there's no respect for the other person. You want them to be just the way you want them to be. And you don't respect them for who they are. There's control. And many of us try to control our relationships in a way because we feel like our entire world needs to be controlled. And also there's no justice. Like when somebody makes a wrong in a relationship, you sometimes hold it against them for the rest of their life. And that's what he's talking about with the track of fear. Now, what you really want in your life is the track of love. The track of love where there are no obligations, that you just love because you love them. You know, they can do things for you and you love them, or they cannot do anything for you and you still love them. There is no control. You realize that they've got their own life, their own dreams. He calls it dreams in the book. Your love is totally unconditional. It doesn't matter what they do or don't do for you. You just love them. And there is much respect in this. Like, you respect who they are, you respect how they show up in life. And that was something that I learned and I went, wow. Like, we only get true love, the track of love, only 20% of the time. And when you're aware of this, then you start to master this and you start to bring more of this into your life. And that was his 2 tracks. Now, he talks about the wounded man. So he starts with this story about how everybody on earth has this sickness, like we're all sick. So I'm going to read this. It says, "The wounded man, human mind is sick with a disease called fear. The emotional body is full of wounds, and these wounds are infected with emotional poison. When the manifestation of the disease of fear is anger, hate, sadness, envy, and hypocrisy, the result of the disease is all the emotions that make humans suffer. All humans are mentally sick with the same disease. We can even say that the world is a mental hospital." Like, he talks about how we're all walking around with these wounds, and then when somebody touches us or triggers these wounds, it gets worse in us and we tend to push them away. And how he talks about, that we don't even know we have these wounds. And when we start to heal these wounds, we start to notice what love is out there. All right. And then forgiveness. He says that the only way you can heal this wound is forgiveness. So I'm going to read this quote from him. "Forgiveness is the only way to heal your emotional wounds. Forgive those who hurt you, no matter what they've done, because you don't want to hurt yourself every time you remember what they did. When you touch a wound and it doesn't hurt, then you know you have truly forgiven." Many people hurt us in our lives. Many people will hurt us really bad, and then some people only slightly hurt us, but the only way that we can heal these wounds is to forgive them. And that doesn't mean that you forget what they did. That doesn't mean you say that what they did is okay. It just means that you forgive them, that you no longer hold it against them what they did. And you start to accept that people out there only do things because they've been conditioned to do things the way they do them. And that's so important that you realize that. One of the things as a teacher, I always think of parents as they did the best they could, with what they had. And they're always doing the best they can. And you as parents, forgive yourself for who you've been as a parent, because you really have been doing the best you can with what you got. All right, and the next one, magical kitchen. So I told you that he has these stories about in there to help emphasize what he thinks. And this is about the magical kitchen. It says, your heart can create any amount of love, not just for yourself, but for the whole world. Open your heart, open your magical kitchen, and refuse to walk around the world begging for love. In your heart is all the love you need. Now, with this magical kitchen, he talks about how if you have a magical kitchen that's creating food and that food is going out to you and you have all the food in the world, then you will not starve. And so that anybody out there who's trying to offer you food and in response to, something like they're trying to control you through food, then you've got your magical kitchen. It's already full of food and you don't need their food. Now you can share your food with them if you choose to share your food or not, but you don't need what they have to give. And then he puts this to love. Like when you have all the love in the world, love for yourself, love for others, love for anybody else, love for your coworkers, love for everybody else in your family. If you have now forgiven everybody in your life and there's just love beaming out of you, then nobody can take advantage of you anymore. You have such strength in you, and then you can choose to love people who accept you for exactly who you are, or not choose to love a person. If somebody's trying to control you, you don't have to love them because you already have love in your life and you're not desperate. And this has made me feel in my life that when people have come in my life and they've given me love and they've taken it away, I realize I don't necessarily need their love because I have my magical kitchen. I have all the love inside of here that I can either love or not love. And it doesn't matter. So that's what they mean by the magical kitchen. And I love the magical kitchen. All right, next one, the dog reference. They talk about you cannot change other people. To try to change them to fit what you want to be is like changing a dog into a cat or a cat into a horse. They are what they are. You are what you are. And what I got out of this is you just got to accept people. Accept them for who they are and who they are not. And I put a lot of this stuff into my own book because we go through life trying to change people. We see something in them and we want them to be that person. But that's like trying to change a dog into a cat or a cat into a dog. If you don't want the dog that you have, get a cat. If you don't want the cat that you have, get a horse. You just gotta accept what you have or you find somebody else. So I love those quotes. The next one. This one is, you are beautiful. No matter what your mind tells you, that is a fact. You are aware of your own beauty and accept your own beauty. The opinion of others doesn't affect you at all. So this is something else I believe in, and I think in a couple of weeks I'm going to be doing a video about on the nude day about accepting your body. But we all have this beauty. It doesn't matter what size you are. It doesn't matter what things you've been through. We are all beautiful. And the person who thinks that we're not beautiful usually is ourselves. We look in the mirror and we go, oh, look at that. Look at my face. Look at my thighs. And we are so critical of who we are. And when we are putting ourselves down, we lose that feeling of beauty. And if we accept our beauty that we have, others also accept our beauty. All right, the next quote. And put in the comments which of these quotes is exciting you the most. Like, you say the one about the dog or about the kitchen, which one reflects who you are. Because I know these quotes really touched my life. All right, the next one. If you tell someone you love him and that person says, well, I don't love you, is that a reason for you to suffer? Just because someone rejects you doesn't mean you have to reject yourself. If one person doesn't love you, there is always somebody else. And it's better to be with someone who wants to be with you than to be with someone who has to be with you. So what I get from that one is, we might try to manipulate people to stay with us. It's kind of like that magical kitchen. We're giving away our food and making people desperate to stay with us. And when they leave us, we feel so rejected. We feel so like, this is just awful. But it doesn't have to be that way. All we have to do is feel love for people. And if they love us back, that's great. If they don't, that's great as well. If we have true love, that mastery of love, that track of love, then when they pull away from us, we just still love them because we're not afraid anymore. We're not afraid to be alone. We're okay to be alone. And we want that person to feel love in any way they can. So we want them loved no matter what. And whether that's with you or with somebody else. And that's what I get out of that quote. All right, the next one. You are complete when love is coming out of you. You are not searching for love because you are afraid to be alone. When you have all that love for yourself, you can be alone. There's no problem. You are happy to be alone, and to share is also fun. And what I got during that time, there was quite a few years when I really felt alone. And what I got was that it's important to spend time alone. It's important to really care about yourself and get back to the love for yourself, especially after you've had a relationship that's not been so good. And this will bring you not only in touch with who you are, but when you find the love for yourself, you start to get love from so many other people. And then you never feel like you are not loved. Anyway, that is mastery of love. And if you love this, go ahead and share it. And next week, I'm going to be doing the 5 love languages. Once again, that's another book that has shaped who I am and what I think. And so until then, I'm so glad that you spent time with me. And I will see you next week.